And all the time, people call me and complain and ask, if I gap my rings for boost and I run it naturally aspirated, how much power am I going to lose and how much blow-by am I going to have? And I have always said, 0. You will not notice it. And this engine proves my freaking point. So like I said, total seal ring chart, very, very popular, kind of an industry-wide standard, 20 thou on top for a naturally aspirated street motor. This engine, bone stock, top ring, 41 thou. 41! And the second ring is 46. Literally double what the total seal ring gap chart would have said. 15 thou more than what it says to run for a pretty heavy nitrous shot or some good amount of boost. Double. 40. Just gap the rings, everybody. Move on. Life will be good. You will love it. The motor will never care. The blow-by will never affect anything. And your horsepower will not change. Factory LS7 engine. 41 on the top, 46 on the second. Wild stuff. Okay. Rant over. Let's get back.
Man, am I glad to hear that. Again, we did 28 and 30, which I knew was on the higher end, but for some reason it just scared me when I saw those big trails of grease or whatever, lubricant. The video puts my mind at ease. But I did want to make one more comment on that. That engine had, like, I think 98 or 88,000 miles, maybe 86,000. Just like this one had, I'm guessing, over 250, if I had to guess. So that doesn't mean from the factory it was 41. It just means with the wear at 80,000 miles, it opened up to 40 and wasn't smoking. So either way, it's good news. But I wanted to get that. I want to get the information out there because that guy, he's a professional engine builder. He knows what he's doing. And he said it's not a big deal. Then I believe him. So I'm very comfortable. I'm actually extra comfortable now knowing that we went on the safer side with the looser tolerances with the ring gap. So that's it. That's that. It's done. Now I get to worry about other stuff. Such as, you can't make this up, man. You just can't make this up. So I go to print off the PDF of the spec sheet that Oliver from Summit sent me. And guess what wasn't there? The attachment that he sent was the Summit logo. So this is just incompetence at this point. Yes, they made the effort to make it right, which I do want to comment on that too. But man, you just can't have this kind of incompetence. You just can't. You can't function like that. So again, I'm gonna have to wait till Monday for him to get the email, and then hopefully maybe the third or fourth time I'll get the spec sheet for these rod bolts, because that's what I was going to do today. That's why I was about to print them out, come get the rod bolts done and keep moving forward. But some clarification on the 10%. I thought they just gave me a 10% coupon for the next purchase, but what they actually did was gave me 10% cash value of that one purchase that was $2,670. So I got 267 bucks to spend at Summit. So, I mean, that's a lot better than giving me a 10% coupon, because I already get 5%. And honestly, if I would have just gotten, not even logged in and just check out as a guest with the Halloween special, I would have gotten, well, $40 over a certain amount. I don't know. The point is, that's clarity on what the 10% thing was. So I guess the Summit saga is not done. I'm just going to leave it be. I'm not going to get angry. It's just one of those things you have to laugh at. But anyway, the rings and the Summit thing, that's where we're at now. The next thing that does need to go in is the cam. I'm going to be cleaning this cam off. Spray it down. Man, actually, while I'm out, I might as well get some more brake cleaner. I'm pretty low. I'm down to 3 cans, 2.5 cans. I'll probably do it tomorrow because I'll be out tomorrow anyway. But yeah, we're gonna get the cam installed. Possibly. I need to get it at least cleaned off, bare minimum. But that's where we're at. And I don't know what I'm gonna do next now that I can't do the rod bolts. So we'll figure something out. Well, I just put the OEM one away, but I put these right next to each other and made some measurements. I thought that these lobes would be bigger because the lift is allegedly bigger. But in fact, the OEM was bigger. And I made two different measurements. I measured it as a whole, and then I measured it off the center. And off the center, it was bigger. You know, assuming these weren't completely centered up. But not enough to, I don't know. I think, if I had to guess, I think OEM lift, factory lift, I think it's 490 for some reason. So I just expected it to be substantially bigger because it has to push the valve out higher. But maybe somebody sees this and fills me in, enlightens me. Also, I had a buddy come by last night who used to build hot rods, and that scared both of us. That discoloration. I'm assuming it's from the heat treatment, but makes me a little nervous. It looks like it got overheated. But we're about to throw this in there. I'm going to do a good deep cleaning. I'm going to wipe it off and then brake clean it and then blow it out. And there's some channels here that need to be blown out. There's something here on the end. But I thought that those lobes would be noticeably and measurably bigger. Which they're slightly bigger. Well, as a whole, they're not bigger. But as far as away from the shaft, it is. But it's only like 20 thousandths. See? Well, that was the exhaust. The intake was even less. It was 0.014. All right, well, that's all I got. I think it looks pretty good. That's aluminum. I could have polished it, but it wouldn't have turned out very well. The texture's too rough. So I went with the white. And then there'll be aluminum here. And I think I'm actually going to do the intake white. I'm strongly considering it. But it's a lazy Sunday afternoon. The weather's perfect. I don't want to do anything. But something's been gnawing at me. It's been gnawing at me. I think if I had a gun to my head, this would run. Talking about the main caps. But actually, I forgot the guy's name, but it's somebody on one of my previous videos was talking about it's better to loosen it up and then retorque it all the way. And I think he's right. I know he's right. But I've been trying to negotiate with myself to just leave it. But I can't. So I'm going to have to loosen up all these rods, which that's not a big deal because I still haven't torqued them because I don't know what the torque specification is. I torqued them to 45 because I figured it'd be at least 45. So I'm going to loosen up all the rods, loosen up all the mains, and I'm going to do, yet again, I'm going to torque the mains. I'm not going to sleep at night until I get it done. So lazy day like this, I'm not trying to get anything heavy duty, but I do kind of want to check the head studs, lay a few of those in. I measured them last night, took a look at them, because they look so much smaller than the factory. They look skinnier than the factory, but they're not. It's an illusion. See, look how much skinnier that looks. But they're good. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm definitely not gonna have the camera on. I just want to take my time. I'm dreading doing this. I have been dreading doing this for about a week and a half, 2 weeks probably. So I'll catch you on the other side. All right, I want to review what I've done. I loosened up all the rod bolts. They're still there, but there's not tension on them. I loosened up all the mains. I did not loosen up the side bolts. The reason being, they have RTV on them. Now, the reason I'm putting this in the video is because if something happens in the future, which is possible, I want to be able to look back and say, okay, that was not how you do it. So I untorqued all of the mains, saved the side. Then I did in 3 equal steps, 20, 40, 60 on the middle. And then I think I did hand tight, I'm gonna call it 15, 30, 50. Yeah, about 15, 30, 50 on the outside. And I went back over them once again. So I know for sure they're all. Let me just show you instead of trying to explain it. This is 2 torque wrenches. Okay, this is at 50 pounds. It clicks here and it beeps here, and I have a digital readout, so I have 2 confirmations. Now, they both could be substantially off, but I'm at this point, I have to just trust it. They're within 2 or 3 pounds of each other. This, I've found out, at 20 pounds is awful. When I first tried to torque it with 20 pounds, it was breaking at 14. This was showing 13 and a half, 14. This was popping off. So the lower weights on here do not work. I think 30 was pretty accurate, but 20 was not even worth doing. I'm gonna snug up the rod bolts. Actually, you wanna decompress this thing. It will stretch stuff. I mean, I might as well just go to 10 pounds. It doesn't work at 10 pounds. But anyway, I'm pretty comfortable that those are within 5 pounds of where they should be. Now, I'm gonna take a ratchet and a socket and just snug these up because I don't want them wobbling around in there. I'll just hand tighten them, 20 pounds, because I'm still waiting on my torque specifications. I think I put it in a video, but if I didn't, I went to go check the email to get the torque specs yesterday, and the attachment was a picture of Summit. It was not the PDF. So another weekend and I don't have my torque specifications. That's why I decided to just go ahead and paint this. I think it looks good. I'm not going to regret that. And I'm still leaning towards doing those white also. The reason I'm saying that is because they're going to be up against, I like the contrasting colors. So white, shiny, white. If I shine those out, I mean, they'll look okay, but I like the shiny and the white contrast. So more than likely, I'm going to end up painting these. I mean, it kind of sucks because it did look pretty shiny up here on the corner. But see, it's just the texture. The same deal with that. The texture is just so rough. I don't think it's gonna look shiny enough to accomplish the look I'm going for. But I'll probably do white. It's gonna look cool anyway. If I painted it pink, it's still gonna be bad. So, all right, that's what I've done. I will sleep better tonight, and I'll sleep even better, hopefully, tomorrow night after I get my torque specifications for these friggin' rod bolts. Side note, I think his name is the Engine Guy. I just did a video. Actually, it's in the same video. He does this for a living, so he knows what he's doing. He was torquing up, I almost bet $100. I've seen so many of his videos, I can sometimes confuse one video with another, but I'm 95% sure in this video he had ARP 2000 bolts, the bolts that I have, in a rod that looked identical to mine. It was an LS, and I saw his torque wrench. It was at 82 pounds. So I'm not going to go 82 pounds until I have paper in my hand or somebody with some authority telling me 82 pounds. There's one last thing on that. Oh, and actually the same guy who said it in the comment section, he listed off a bunch of good tips. And one of them was doing the stretch method. There's this tool I saw at Summit, that it measures the stretch. I don't know enough about that, but I'm thinking that you measure the stretch to see if it's where it's supposed to be. It doesn't have anything to do with the weight on it. I don't know if I want to get into that. If that's the best method, I'll probably do it, but that involves buying another tool. And with the $267 cash value I have for Summit, maybe that will be one thing I buy. But I've got to get moved on. I moved on from this. I'm writing it off in my mind as done. The main caps are done. Last thing. When I first torqued the center down to 20 pounds, let me back up even further. I loosened all these to make sure they were not digging into the block. Somebody said something about you might even want to put thread locker on them because if they tighten up, they can break the block. That scares the crap out of me. So I just went back and made sure every single one of the stud themselves, I made sure they were down all the way, and then I backed it off. There's not even 1 pound of pressure on it. So hopefully it gives it a little bit of room. But I'm afraid it tightens up more when I'm tightening like this. I'm afraid it drives it in, but hopefully not, because that's one of my reasoning for not putting lubricant on the studs that are inside the block. Is I want to have resistance. I mean, and some people even say, I think it even said on the sheet, some people do put thread locker on it. Oh, here we go. Loctite may be used if a permanent mounting of the studs is preferred. That's why I erred on the no lubricant side, because I was trying to think about the logic of why you would want lubricant on the inside. I mean, the only justification I could find is it makes you feel better. You know, because metal against metal, you just naturally want to put lubricant. But not when you have this kind of complex forces on each other. And I feel comfortable with my decision, and that confirms it. So I could, even if I got a wild hair up my rear end, I could pull them out, put Loctite, and ARP signs off on it. So we're good. I'm comfortable with it. I'm going to leave it alone. But I'm going to have to watch out for one thing. Am I going to leak oil? Did these move enough when I loosened them to break that RTV seal? I'm guessing no. I don't think they moved at all. But I'm putting in a video October 12th. Next October, when we're ripping down the interstate at the speed limit and not a mile per hour over, then we'll be able to review this video and say, okay, it was okay. All right, I'm rambling at this point. I went ahead and retorqued all the bolts for the rods back at 45 pounds. I can't imagine that they would be less than that. But if I find out they are more, then I'll just raise it. But I'm going to consider this done pending confirmation of the torque specification on the rod bolts. Also, I put a bunch of that Lucas in there too. Like, I really want to rotate the engine a lot, but I also don't want to wear out all the grease that's in there strategically. You know, there's a certain amount of turns you have till it's dry. And I'm going to have to be turning it quite a bit, you know, when we're messing with the valves and everything. So I just threw some extra. It's pretty much useless, quite frankly. But it made me feel better. It's already making its way down. All right. I'm probably going to flip it over and I'm going to chase those head threads, the head stud threads, one last time before we put the heads on. I forgot like 2 or 3 times. So here's the cherry picker. I think I'm going to bring the cherry picker right here. And I want to lift this thing off and put the back plate on when we do the cam. Because I need to get the cam. It's time for the cam. The reason I didn't put the cam is I didn't know how much of this I was going to have to take out, you know, to grind. Oh, and I'm going to go look for clearancing. I saw a video. I swear videos are worse than they are good. But somebody else was talking about stroker clearancing on number 8 piston. So, and I did get a magnifying glass. A mirror. I took a mirror down in there and tried to rotate every angle I possibly could to see if there was going to be a clearance problem. I think it's with the reluctor wheel. Like, apparently on certain models, the number 8 cylinder is specific. It's specifically cut for the reluctor wheel. So that has me very uncomfortable. But I've checked it as much as I possibly can. So that's why I was saying watching videos are sometimes more harm than help, because they have me second guessing absolutely everything. So yeah, I think I'm gonna pull the cherry picker in right here and take it off the ground and assemble the back part, the back plate, the rear main, when we put the camshaft in, because I don't want the camshaft just floating around in there and able to push out. I need to get the engine closed up here pretty soon. I may or may not have discussed it. If I did, it was very briefly. I'm a little bit worried about this. This is the oil pickup tube. I bought a billet that has 2 bolts instead of 1, but man, it looks like I have to cut this off, and I'm not in a hurry to do that. Also, one last thing, with this, it is 3 washers that will go on top of the studs to give it that elevation so that these don't run into it when it rotates. So that's the last clearance issue I will have, unless I find another problem here pretty soon, because we need to get this thing closed up and move on to the heads. All right, that's it for now. I'm glad I came over here. I was blowing these out with air, the head stud areas, whatever it's called. Man, I must have missed this burr. My fingernail's catching on it. That's at least a couple thousandths. My fingernail can catch it. So I'm glad I came by. And this is another reason I'm trying to really take my time and look over it 2 or 3 times. Because that's just, you know, you can't really see with the naked eye. But I'll come through and just check all of them now. Which I kind of was when I was blowing them out. And that's how I found that one. So not the end of the world that I caught it. But it definitely could have leaked there. These Cometic MLS head gaskets have to be absolutely flat and smooth. 50 RA, which is some smoothness factor. I don't know if that's 50, but we're going to find out. I'm going to go ahead and grind this off real quick with my little file. All right. These are countersunk bits. I bought those specifically for these. And I chickened out. I remember now. So, well, a couple things. These burrs, that's exactly why the head was rocking. Whether it was the block or the heads themselves, that's exactly why it was rocking back and forth. So I'm going to take my time and go through this, because I clearly have unfinished business. I found a couple of other ones with, you know, I could catch my fingernail on it. And that's no bueno. So I'm tempted to look up to see if I should use these. I just psyched myself out because I was thinking, oh man, the bevel's going to be too big and then it's going to leak. So I really need to go do some research real quick to see if that's okay to do. I mean, I know it's okay to do. I just don't know to what extent. But that explains why I was finding burrs on the block. I chickened out. If you can believe it, we're going to have to retort the main caps. I saw a video last night, and I'm 98% sure the guy talking was an ARP rep. And since these are ARP studs, I figure he was an authority on the issue. And you know, the crazy thing is, he kind of contradicts the own instructions that they send out, which he specifically talked about. They update the instructions quickly, in live time, basically. What the issue is, and I have alluded to it in one of the videos, but when you screw the stud in, sometimes when you're not supposed to torque it down, you're supposed to just go until it stops and then put the nut on. And here's the problem, and I talked about it earlier. Sometimes when you're tightening down the nut on the stud, it can drive the stud down further into the block. Even though The first time that I put these in, I screwed them all the way down, came out about a quarter of a turn. Realistically, what you're supposed to do is about a half a turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen them all up again for probably the eighth or ninth time. I'm going to take the studs all the way down, and then I'm going to snug up the nut. Or take the stud all the way down, snug up the nut, and then back it off a half a turn. So it, even when I'm torquing, even if the whole thing moves, it's not going to be more than a half a turn. Man, I'm exhausted of this. Oh, and this is in the morning before work, so I want to get this done so I don't have to think about it during the day. I hate mornings. I hate mornings. But woke up like an hour and a half before my alarms, and that's the first thing that popped in my mind. It was, dadgummit, I'm going to have to address those studs. So I'm going to take care of it before the work day. So this evening, we can move on to the next stage, which is I've already prepared for the next stage. I've got the cherry picker already. We're going to hoist it up and put this back plate on. But before that, I'm going to have to swap out this seal. I'm not going to paint this because it's literally not going to be seen ever. So I spruced this up. I hit these. I made sure everything was level. And brake cleaned it. I'm gonna figure out how to get that out of there. I mean, I know how to do it like barbarian style, but I don't want to break the aluminum. And in this kit, there's the seal right there. I'm trying to wait for the very last second to open this because it says, I had my knife at it, about to cut it. It said, non-returnable if seal is broken. So I stopped and I was like, let me wait until the very last second. So, bad news on the head studs, main studs, but it looks like we finally figured out a definitive answer. So, to reiterate, we're going to loosen them up, drive the stud all the way down, and then back it off a half a turn. And then I'm going to snug the nut there. So that even if when I torque it, it's not going to go more than a half a turn. I cannot have that in the back of my mind the way I'm going to be pounding on this engine. I cannot second guess it. You know, if we're turning 700-800 horsepower, I don't want to hesitate. I just want to be able to pound that gas pedal and know that my studs are correct and they're not driving into the block. Because that's another thing that I think it's more prevalent with aluminum blocks, but still it's present with the iron, is the swelling up. It can drive the stud into the block and crack it. So my very first instinct to back it off was correct. I just didn't do it enough. I just did it a quarter turn. But after reading the instructions 5 times and it didn't say to do that, I thought, well, it just says hand tight and you can use Loctite. So I figured just the drag on it was enough to keep it from drilling in more. But anyway, I'm all over the place. I'm trying to just get this part of my life done finally, please. So that's what we're going to be doing here in a minute. Son, this thing is killing me. After further thought, I think I'm just going to leave the studs how they are. I reviewed the instructions again, which came with the bolts, and I followed them to a letter. Not once or twice, but about 8 times. I don't think it would hurt it if I took them all out and did it all again, but I think it's unnecessary. I paid very close attention to when I initially bottomed the bolts out. There was no tension on the block. Could there hypothetically be tension after I torqued it? Yes, but I followed the instructions to a letter. Another thing, I'm probably just going to yank this off of here. I've watched a few videos on doing this. This is a little bit more involved. This has to be perfect, and it needs to mate up with the oil pan. So temporarily, and obviously it's got the gasket on here, and they recommend siliconing it. So this needs to be done later. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to throw it up there with a few bolts. You know, 1, 2, and 3, just to hold it on there. That's still the factory seal, which I can just pop it out by hammering out that way. So the reason I want to do that is because I want to get the cam in here and then put the front part of this engine on. Oil pump, cam sprocket, crank sprocket. So I'm probably just going to put this on by hand. I'm not going to hoist it up on the cherry picker. I'm just going to lay the rear plate over that crank so to keep the cam from coming out and to keep dirt from getting in there. Like I said, so we can get the cam and start getting the push rods measured and all that stuff. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, I'll probably change my mind about 7 times about those main studs, but for now, I'm just going to leave them be. If I was a betting man, I'd bet $1,000 they'll be okay. If not, I would have already changed them out. So, I'm going to throw this plate on there and get back at it. By the way, it's like 4:30 p.m. on Monday. I never got an email back from Summit. I emailed Oliver directly, and I responded to the Summit email that allegedly had the PDF attached. It had a PDF attached, but it was a JPEG in PDF form. Don't ask me. So, that's just an update. Another shipment. That is intake manifold gaskets. The real reason I grabbed the camera, it just happened to happen when the UPS guy pulled up. Man, I had been hunting for this thing for half an hour. My deceased friend was my roommate for a while back in the day, and he left that. We used the heck out of it. It's a toaster oven. Well, I got a new one for Christmas. Long story short, I didn't want to get rid of it because I used it so much, and 2, I was planning on doing what's it called, Kydex, and you can use those to warm up the Kydex. So it's coming in handy finally. I know I've been carrying it around for 15 years for a reason. The crank sprocket, it's going to go here, but it needs to be heated up. Yeah, I could throw it in my oven up there, but I've been hauling this around for 15 years. Might as well finally use it. So, yeah, I'm going to hook it up, get this to probably 250 or 300, and it should just slide over the crank. We're about to find out. Me. Cool. Okay, cool. It's got my little grommets for the valve covers. You know what? I just realized the top and the bottom, both these gasket kits are the same brand. That's kind of nice. I don't think I did that on purpose either. Yeah, see? The lower, I guess it's lower and upper. What made this so freaking complicated, I could not find an engine gasket kit that did not include head gaskets. Well, that's the bulk of the price of the gasket kits. I should have probably spent more time and gotten the gasket kit that had the head gaskets. It was just such a pain to find the right size for some reason. Anyway, we need to check on what's cooking over here. All right, we'll give it a few minutes. Got my welding glove. In case I forget to mention it or show it, it does call for lubrication, so I'm gonna grab that with the glove. And with another glove, I'm going to wipe this motor Earl on the inside of the cam sprocket, crank sprocket. Dadgum, man. With the vocabulary that I have, this is not the greatest use of my lack of talents. So whatever, you know what I'm saying. Oh yeah, while we're waiting on the oven, I took a look at the plate. And the one that I've ordered 3 now at this point, not on purpose. The one that I was going to put on that I spent $40 on because it wasn't Chinese, ironically, is the same brand. And I think it's actually pronounced Mall. I have not heard anybody call it Molly. But this does not call for the recessed bolts. The one that I bought from Summit that's Chinese, it does have the recessed bolts. I don't know which is in this one. Or no. That one. But these are the bolts they gave me for the Mall. They're ARP. So that's the reason I'm putting the crank sprocket on, is I'm going to have to mock this up and see how much clearance I'm going to have. Do I have to use the recessed bolts, or do I need to use, can I use these? Or, oh yeah, the Brian Tooley. I've got Brian Tooley that cost me 12 bucks. They're recessed. This cam plate, it's not recessed. So I'm gonna have to figure out which one I'm gonna use. I don't want to speculate, but it seems to me like maybe the newer versions are the ones that have to have the recessed. But again, I'm just guessing after I said I wouldn't. All right, assuming it doesn't work and it doesn't just slide all the way back, I've got the old one that we're going to flip around backwards to press against it with this bolt. This is the harmonic balancer bolt. I've already pre-staged this so that it won't turn. So I'm going to grab this out of here. I'm going to lay this down here actually. Wow. Huh. It works. It slid all the way back. Look at that. That's beautiful. Mission accomplished. I'm doing a thumbs up. You probably can't tell. Cool. Now we know. Now I can mock up the diamond sprocket to see if we're going to have clearance. I think we're going to have clearance. The good thing is it's, well, here's the problem. The reason I'm so hesitant to do this is some of these bolts have thread locker already on them, and I don't want to waste it. Plus, I think once it oh, I got oil all over my hands. Dadgummit. Let me clean up before I continue on. All right, it's been about 15 minutes. I had to go hunt down a squirrel who had the audacity to climb in my tree right here, and who I couldn't shoot from this angle because my neighbors are a few hundred yards that way. I swear they know the rules. And I didn't have my gun in my hand. Anyway, it's been about 20 minutes and it's already cooled down and it's solid in there. So if anybody's wondering, which I was wondering how long it'd take to cool down. I bet it was probably like 5 minutes really. But all right, time to move on to the camshaft. Man, I'm a little anxious about it. It's those bearings, having those scratches in them. It's been sickening me the whole time. I'm going to go ahead and put this on camera. Hopefully it encourages other people who are having doubts, who are lacking confidence. I am second guessing myself on absolutely everything. Partly because of things already talked about. You know, it's expensive. I want to do a good job. The other part, which internet is a double-edged sword. For anything, there's like 4 or 5 different versions of it. And it's really hard to know who to trust. Plus, when I have 2 reputable manuals that both, they say something that's similar, but nothing definitive. So I'm being a chicken. I am just hesitant to put the cam in. I did rotate this so that the dot is at 12 o'clock. This is top dead center. I'm not going to buy that tool. Is it called a bridge? Basically, it measures how much the piston comes out. And I can see it comes out, but it's like, now that I'm an expert with feeler gauges, it's less than 10 thousandths. Plus I have the factory 0.51 head gasket. But I also am going to put some clay. Oh, thank you for reminding me. I need to write that down. I want to get some Play-Doh or some clay because I want to check the valve clearance, given that this cam is bigger than normal. And it's not quite a flat top, but it's kind of close. So I just want to double check. But anyway, I just wanted to get this on camera that you just push through the doubts. You just keep walking forward. I'm not confident at all that I'm doing anything right here. But I'm just going to slowly keep walking forward, and at some point, it will succeed. You won't be able to read that, but it says timing chain. None of these are flush. None of those are flush. One of the other reasons I was hesitant is, I was reading in the manual, if the bolt goes in too far, it will run into the crankshaft, because the crankshaft is literally right here when it spins. Yeah, see, I'm also arguing with myself because I have 3 different. I'm not going to use the Summit unless I absolutely had to, because it's from China. I mean, I did spend an extra $40 just to not use it, so I'm probably not going to use it. So I was very worried, and I'm glad I hesitated to open it, because I could have returned this for 40 bucks. Because we have the 3rd one, and that's another thing I've been hesitant to open, because it says non-returnable if opened. But it also has a retaining plate. And it seems kind of, I'm torn. So ARP are the pinnacle. So let's just assume this maul and ARP bolts works. Great. What happens if I take this plate out and I can just reuse the timing cover bolts that I already had? Saving 40 bucks. And I'm not pinching pennies in this build, but I mean, 40 bucks is 40 bucks. But then I argue with myself again. The camshaft is a very important part, and I already have the ARP that I've already paid for. Might as well already use it. Oh, here's the plate. Here's the plate. Okay, those are the cam plate bolts. Okay, so no big deal. So I will just take these out and put them next to the ARP and make sure they're not too long. Yeah, we're just gonna go with that $40 maul. I can't believe this manual said that you can reuse a plate from an old engine. Why would they say that? But anyway, that's where we're at. I did want to document the struggles I'm having. It's all inside my head. But you probably have to deal with it too. Unless you built 30 of these, you're probably not going to be that confident. And you're confident when you're watching the video. Then when you get down and doing it, you're like, wait, what did he say? Wait, what? So I'm just going to get it on camera. But I'm going to measure those ARP bolts, and we're probably going to more than likely, yeah, I'll just keep that other plate for a backup or the next engine. Yeah, pretty sure. All right, looks like we're golden. If anything, the ARP are slightly smaller. There's this hump that sticks out a little bit farther on the OEM. Okay, let me just finish up this thought then, because I'm still arguing with myself. If I didn't already have ARP in that maul, I would probably just use the one that's in this right here with the factory bolts, because there's not a tremendous amount of pressure on cam plate. But since I already have the ARP, and I am running mostly ARP on the important stuff, I'll just go ahead and use them. So basically, if I would have if I were to do this again, I would probably just use the OEM bolts with the plate that comes in that kit. Incidentally, I did not order the kit because I had it in there. It just already had it in there. It was the only kit I could find that was suitable. So this is a long, convoluted section of the video, but hey, that's what it is. I mean, that's what's going on. So I'm going to open this package. I'm going to get the camshaft ready. I'm going to go ahead and install it. All right, so we will be reusing, there's two sets of bolts. There's cam retaining bolts. It's the plate, and then they're the actual sprocket. You know, this is the OEM one. I would have preferred to have those ARP in the plate OEM, but hey, that's how it worked out. So to clarify here, I really wasn't planning on doing this today. That's why this is all kind of hard to get through. The cam is going in, then the plate with the ARP bolts, then the sprocket is going on the cam with the OEM bolts. I can't make it any more simple than that. So as we're moving towards installing the heads, I mean, this kind of weighted it. It's on my mind, so I thought I'd get it. The reason I just said that is I just put the oil on the shelf because I got back from O'Reilly's. There are two schools of thought with lifters. Some people say you want to fill them up with oil and let them soak because they are hydraulic. They use hydraulic pressure. Other people say it doesn't matter because they're going to empty out as they're waiting in your engine. Both of those are true. So since I'm stupid and I like wasting money, I'm going to fill mine with oil, even though I know it's going to be at least a month or two before we fire this thing up. It's psychologically soothing to know that I soaked them in oil. That's literally the only reason. So I got an extra quart of 30 weight just for that. I also got an extra can of paint. Actually, I got 2 more cans of paint. White, ceramic. So this whole engine is going to be just white. I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy with the paint. So we've got 2 more cans and a can of clear coat. So anything I see that is not painted is going to be painted white at some point. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Well, my day just got a little bit more complicated. Out of curiosity, I went ahead and opened this up to see what the plate looked like, the cam plate. And if you look closely, it's recessed. I've got this one, same brand, not recessed, with ARP bolts, perfect. But now I have this. That's 40 bucks. I could probably return that actually, because I already have the bolts. I bought $12 worth of bolts, Brian Tooley, specifically for this. I'm sorry this has turned into such a complicated thing. I really didn't expect it to. I was just getting ready to put the cam in. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause for a little bit and try to figure it out. All right. I had to just apply basic logic. Here's the recessed one with the bolts. Here's this and the ARP bolts. The one thing that threw me over the edge that I'm going to do the one with the ARP bolts is the one thing about the crank. Let me explain. In one of those manuals it said, be careful, if the bolt goes in too far, it will touch the crankshaft. Well, there's a less chance of that happening with the ARP bolts that are like how the factory bolts are. So I think I'm going to use the ARP, the standard old style that doesn't have it countersunk, because that'll eliminate the possibility of going through the block and hitting the crank. I know I will be doing another 6-liter and or a 5.3, probably both. So this is not a waste. It's just prematurely bought. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the older style with the bolts that are sticking out. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. Now finally we can move on. Man, I can't catch a break. So this is the cam retaining plate. ARP, shout out to ARP for always putting instructions in their bolts. Thank you. But now I'm seeing lubricate the bolt threads. I was about to put thread locker on them. Which one is it? I'm legit confused because I have seen a dozen people do this and they put thread locker on it. That's why I bought the orange thread locker. It was specifically for that because I'm scared of red. I have red if I need it. But that's orange, high temp. I think it's 300 degrees, maybe 400. 300. This is crazy, man. I can't get anything done here. Goes back to what I said just a few minutes ago, talking about getting mixed information. I don't know. Well, I am 100% confused. I just read 40 forums. And some people say lube, some people say Loctite. This is blowing my mind. ARP says lube. Another company, Brian Tooley, it already has Loctite on it. And it's literally like 70% of people say to use Loctite. But they don't sound smart. Like, I don't know, I'm picking up on some opinion. Or it makes me feel better. I am literally thoroughly confused. This is the first wall I have hit in this project. And it's pretty blatant, like both the answers are in front of me. So it's basically up to me to make the decision. I thought I was putting Loctite on it. But I also wasn't planning on putting ARP. And ARP says to lubricate it. If this went to court, I would be charged if I didn't lubricate it, because that's what the instructions say. But there's a plethora of information contradicting it, including bolts in my hand. And like 70 videos of people putting Loctite on them. Man, I don't know. There's not much more to say. I came down from looking online. I can't move forward with this tonight. I don't have anybody I trust that I would ask them for their opinion. So tomorrow we'll figure it out. Another thing I want to throw in here. I was planning on reusing the cam bolts that hold the sprocket on. I read at least twice, 2 different contexts, about GM allegedly. GM recommends not using the bolt again. I don't know if that's the case, but just the thought of it triggered me to hit the brakes. I'm going to order ARP bolts for the cam sprocket. And I think what I'm going to do, I just thought about it. I'm going to throw the old one on. I'm going to throw the cam in there, throw the old plate on. Might as well just throw the old sprocket too. Or I can do the new sprocket with the old bolts, so I can move forward with the push rod stuff. Actually, yeah, that's exactly what I'll do. I'll do that so I can move forward with the lifters, the heads, push rods, and then I can make another order and get all that stuff at one time. Yeah, thanks guys, I appreciate it. All right, we've got the Richard Holdener Truck Plus cam. It's like 220, 225. Oh, it's getting heavy already. Oh, it's getting heavy already. Ah, there we go. That is Lucas. Assembly lube. And the cam bearings already actually have the Lubra plate already on it. Also, this has been wrapped up in plastic. I cleaned this yesterday, sprayed it down with brake clean, just made it perfectly clean, and then I wrapped it in that Lucas. So it already had Lucas on it. It probably would have been okay if I just went straight in, but why wouldn't I put some extra on there? Holy. All right, that went in perfectly. Now what we're gonna do, this is a temporary setup. This is the new sprocket. It's a Melling sprocket with the OEM cam bolts. The retaining plate is OEM. I don't want to take the new one and flatten it out because of that gasket, so I just clean this off real quick. And I'm going to use the ARP bolts. This is a temporary setup just like that. So we can assemble the rest of it to find our push rod length. And you do want to lubricate the face of this. All right, it rotates. You know what? I got to put on the chain. Dadgummit. I'm going to do that tomorrow. Well, I think I could do it now. Yeah, let's try it. It's set up. Let me see. Yeah, let's do that now. I've got the chain soaking in that same Lucas. So basically all of it's going to end up on the floor overnight. It does kind of suck. We're going to have to take this back off. But that's just the way it's got to be. Is it running into those bolts, those ARP bolts? Oh no. I think that's what's happening. You know what? This might sound stupid, but I think maybe the thickness of the assembly lube, that's what it's feeling like. Like I don't have enough slack because of the lubricant is so thick. I mean, it's right there at it. Yep, there it was. Well, this will be good because I'm nervous about those ARP bolts on the retaining plate. This will allow me to check for sure. Yeah, it was the thickness of the assembly lube. I had to hammer the chain down into the sprocket. That's how tight these tolerances are. I think that might be a sprocket off. That might be one sprocket off. They're not absolutely perfect. But they might be if I can just rotate it back. That's what I'll do tomorrow. I'm done for the night. But it looks like if I back the engine out, to the left, counterclockwise, I think he would be perfect. So it probably is perfect. But I'm gonna cinch these down and don't know. I haven't thought past the next 2 minutes. Dadgummit, I went past it again. Oh yeah, it's perfect. It is dead set. I'll do the zoom in thing with the editing software. Yeah, that's dead on. And top dead center. Whew. Right on. I'm gonna take a quick look at this. Cool. Man, I'm impressed at how thick that Lucas is. All right, so I'm gonna get these lifters primed up. Actually, you know what? It won't be a complete waste putting oil in them, because we're gonna need them to be hydraulic. These are Texas Speed. I think they might have been about 250 bucks. I think it was like 235 before tax and shipping. So I mean, they were competitively priced. That's about what everybody else charges. So yeah, I'm gonna get those lifters soaking in some Earl. I kept meaning to come over here and grab this. I'll probably use this thing. I'll probably use that. Let them sit overnight. Man, that's some nasty thick grease. That feels like if you get like a World War II gun or a foreign rifle or something, and they come packed in cosmoline or something like that. It's just thick, disgusting brown grease. That's what that feels like. So we want to get that out of our engine. All right, that's kind of do it for the night. I'm going to put some lifters in there and we'll keep moving forward. All right, so this is too big, and they have a roller. That's perfect. They have a roller on the bottom, so they're not going to even sit upright. So we're going to have to do the zip lock. Motor Earl. Yeah, I'm actually glad I went through there and got all those. That's nasty. Get some fresh Earl in there. I'm pretty sure these are World War II lifters. There we go. Look how beautiful that is. That's art. This is art. You can take your Van Gogh and shove it. That's art. Shout out Texas Speed. All right, I'm pretty sure this is not the exact way to do it. Well, I know it's not the exact way, but I was curious. I think this is deck height versus in the hole type deal. I don't know the correct terminology, but this is slightly concerning. 25 is a lot, if that in fact is accurate. I know it's half of that, so 12 and a half. That means it would be 12 and a half out above the deck. But I'm not convinced. All I'm gonna definitely, well, I'm definitely going to do the clay. And actually, I was reading one of those manuals. I was reading something today, and it reiterated for the valves, you know, get that modeling clay. So we're definitely getting modeling clay. That seems like a lot. 25. I saw people moving it. It was like 5 or 10. Also, I hate to even speak about it, but it's already done. In that cylinder wall, it looks like it's already been scratched. I don't know how bad it is. I can't really catch my fingernail on it, but I can physically see it. So I completely wiped out all the cylinder walls like 3 times and re-oiled them just to make sure it doesn't get any worse. But that's going to wrap up this day. A lot's been going on. This is kind of hodgepodge, but I'm documenting the process, and that's how it's been. So we'll see what's next.
These ARP fasteners. I also read a bunch online. Guys were saying you need to use thread locker or Loctite. I did call ARP, which I also wanted kudos to them. That a human being actually picked up the phone, transferred me to the technical service, who also a human being, and in 45 seconds that technical service rep said he looked at the instructions, he looked for notes, and no, there is a lubricant that you put on the head, which I have, and also on the threads, but then you torque it. I think it says in the instructions, I think it's 25 or 26 foot-pounds. We'll get there, but
well, there we go. You know I'm desperate when I'm watching shorts. I hate shorts, but I feel comfortable in following the instructions. I know it shouldn't be so difficult to follow instructions, but this particular instance has been very difficult. Too much conflicting information, but I feel good about using the lubricant now. Alright, I just spent what felt like 2 hours, and it probably was 2 hours, on Summit, getting all the fasteners I need. I still lack the flywheel. I came that close to buying them. But I've got to, well, flex plate. I've got to determine if I need a new one or not, because the new one might come with them. So other than that, and maybe a couple odds and ends here and there, like motor mounts, I think I have them saved, but I haven't purchased them. Anyway, it's right around $200 worth of ARP stuff. And I didn't have to spend any money. I actually applied that gift card that guy sent me, Oliver, and didn't have to spend a penny. So thank you, Oliver. One side note, it's kind of funny, but not. I wanted ARP oil pump bolts. They literally didn't have them for Chevy. They had Ford, but they didn't have Chevy. So I don't know what's up with that. And I even clicked out of stock to see if it's just sold out, and they didn't even come up then. So that's bizarre. What I'm going to do today, I'm not feeling real froggy right now. I don't want to do anything too serious. So I'm going to take this intake, clean it off one last time, which will probably be like the 8th time. No, that's not true. I only clean it a couple good times. I'm going to brake clean it. I'm going to cover up all these with some tape. And then we're going to take it outside and spray paint it. Makes me feel like I'm getting something done when I'm spray painting, which technically I am, but I'm kind of procrastinating on this stuff. I don't know why yet. I don't know why. But that's where we're at. That's where we're going. And that's what I'm doing. Just for the record, you cannot put little black babies in these totes. I hear a squirrel. I'll be back. So, I didn't see this until just this second. This is busted. That is cracked. That will definitely suck air. So I'm gonna have to epoxy that. I got my finger inside, I can feel it. It's just cracked. I don't know how that happened. It had to happen when those idiots were taking it out, because this is the back of the engine, it's protected. So I'm gonna have to epoxy that before I move forward with the rest of the paint. That sucks. Darn. I'm glad I found it now though. That sucked to have everything up and running and then it's just not running right and not knowing why. I never would have found that. So I only found it when it got paint on it. Guess we're done painting for the day. I went ahead and taped that area off just so we don't have tons of paint to have to fight with. I'm going to take that off and deal with it later, but I am going to move forward with the rest of the coats of paint. There's no reason not to. I can absolutely salvage that that intake. Well, it looks pretty good. Put the third coat on. I probably could have gone heavier, but I'm not worried about it because I'm going to put a clear coat on top. Here's where it's cracked. I just ran up to O'Reilly's and bought, where did I put it? JB Weld. They probably have 20 different versions of JB Weld. And I actually had the plastic weld in my hand. But then I read this works on plastic as well. Most plastic. So I can use that on other things too. If I got the plastic, I can only use it on plastic. I think it's going to be sufficient. There's not a tremendous amount of force on this. It just needs to seal up so the air can't get in. All right. Oh. Well, assuming that I can use these exhaust manifolds, they're cracked, but I think I can weld it. Assuming I can use those, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do white. But I'm going to try to polish this out. So I'll have the white with the, well, the more I look at it, the less I think it's going to polish. But I'm going to try it. Try to polish like a corner of it. If it gets shiny, then I'm just going to probably go forward with it. If not, I'll get this brand that's silvery to have a little contrast. So we can have the manifold itself is white, and this will be like a pseudo shiny metal. I think it's going to look really good. I don't think it'll look good for long, but as long as we can get a photo shoot, that's all I need. I can have memories to look back on. Oh, remember before the engine got dirty and it was so pretty? If I have the pictures, I'm fine. Oh, another thing I bought. I went ahead and bought Brian Tooley. Those are rocker arm bolts. I really was wanting to use these factory ones. And they say 10.9, which is their version of grade 8. But I have too many bad memories of pulling broken bolts out of that engine. For $25, I can't risk it. So I spent a lot more money than I wanted to on hardware. And the only reason of that is because I saw with my own eyes how weak bolts were. I got exhaust manifold bolts, everything was ARP except for the oil pump, which that is ICT billet. But it's not billet, ironically. Which I actually went back and double checked because I don't want aluminum bolts. It's steel. The brand is called ICT billet. So we'll go through all that stuff when we get it. Some of it's real fast. Today's Tuesday. It'll be here before Friday, I'm sure. Or by Friday. And it's just nothing exciting. Just necessary bolts and hardware. Man, I'm trying to figure out how to take this video because I've got quite a bit of footage and none of it's great. So I might end this video. I changed my mind 4 or 5 times and I didn't really have a grand plan on which direction this video was going to go, but I was anticipating it being putting the heads on, but I think that needs to be a whole separate video. So I'll upload this footage and I'll look through it because it's been over several days. I don't remember everything that's in it. I do know it's hodgepodge, but I'll just review it and see what would feel natural to put in the rest of this video. But if we end it now, there's plenty of footage. There's plenty of stuff we got done. It's not really video worthy. I'm going to take the JB Weld, mix it 50-50, take a toothpick or something similar. I'm going to pour it over and let it sit overnight. And then tomorrow I wouldn't even have to really, it's at the back of the engine. But I'll spray it with paint and then we'll do the clear coat just to protect the ceramic paint. All right, well, unless something else happens, I'll probably, I'm going to hold off. There might still be more scenes in this film. Get out of here. All right, we got a healthy glob of JB Weld. There was a crack that broke through here, but the crack was going up. So I went past it, hopefully to isolate it and keep it from cracking anymore. I'm pretty sure when they yanked this out of the car, that's why it did that. You can't see, but you can feel it broken in here. All right, so I'm just gonna let the camera roll. We'll watch this dry. Just kidding. All right, so these are the head gaskets that are going on. Cometic MLS, 93 bucks a pop. 0.051 thickness. The bore is 44.030, 30 over. I'm glad I hesitated because I was thinking about putting these on. Basically what we're doing is we're putting the heads on, and we're gonna, I probably won't torque it down, but I will clamp it down to get a push rod length. I was thinking I wanted to use these, the old ones. I'm glad I didn't throw them away. And I'm 99% sure I'm right on this. So these are the same thickness. Actually, this is probably not going to show up well. There's a point to this. Okay. Well, kind of ruining my whole spiel here. Actually, this will probably reinforce my argument. Well, they're 51. They're 0.051. If you come over here, you might be able to see the texture. Yeah, you can see it. Well, this is like 0.07. The 0.051 is down here. So what I'm thinking happens is when you torque this thing all the way down, when you torque those head studs, it compresses that. We're just trying to get a push rod height, length. I don't want to compress those. So let me back up. In the areas where it's already compressed, it is 0.051. See, it's the edges and basically all the edges. I'm pretty sure they're supposed to collapse when you torque this down. And I don't want to do that. I think you can. I haven't watched videos specifically on it, but in passing, I've heard people say that you can reuse them. There's no advantage. Even if I didn't want to use head gaskets at all, I could just add 0.051 to the push rod height. But that's a really long-winded way of saying I am going to use, I already sprayed them off with brake cleaner. I'm going to use the old GM 0.051, which is factory thickness head gasket to get my push rods. And I'm glad I'm going to, because I just found out about this bubbling. You can see it on the camera. It's like 0.079, and it's meant to collapse. Guarantee it. So I just want to get that on camera. I've never heard anybody talk about that. So yeah, I want to move forward. Not the most exciting part of the build, but the dowels are in. And they were bare steel, so they had a little surface rust. So I processed them over there. Scrubbed them, cleaned them, earled them. So, oh, and another thing I just did, which was very tedious and boring. All these brand new head studs and nuts and washers. I brake cleaned them and scrubbed every single one individually, just hitting the threads, making sure there's nothing hidden in there. And then threw some WD-40 on it so they don't rust. Because tomorrow, I'm going to throw this on. And throw this on and put the studs and the heads in. This is what we're working with. This is the factory push rod. Nope. Just shy of 7.4. It probably was 7.4, but it wore off probably with age. The 4/100ths. We can officially celebrate. It's only been 6 months, but we finally got our paperwork. Got them emailed to me finally, and I printed them off. And I would have really liked to have had these. This is 12 pages on the pistons and stuff. There's all kinds of information on it. I mean, look at all that. Now, I will admit, some of this is online, but this is the main one on the rods. And this is what I needed. This was not available online. I could not find it anywhere. This is the one that was chapping my rear end. And I'm going to end it with this. I have to figure out which rod I have. Of course, that's going to be another challenge to figure out the part number. And then go figure out, based on the part number, there is a certain torque specification and process depending on which one I have. So at least I can work with that now. I'm going to do my final bitching about it being such a pain, and we'll move forward. So this video has been a hodgepodge of things, but I'm going to leave it in. Half the purpose of these videos is to see what the process looks like. Well, this is what the process looks like. Yeah, I mean, if I was smarter, I could have sat down at the beginning and said, okay, let's structure it like this, and let's do this and this and this. It didn't happen like that. So I'll wrap up this video. A lot of it, there was actually some really good information in the video. I just put the footage on the computer. There's a lot of useful stuff in there that you're not going to find in a manual because it is so boring. But if you're really trying to dig down and find the nitty gritty of, like, the cam plate. Like, I've never seen anybody talk about that cam plate. And that took a big portion of the video, was trying to figure out the cam plate. Yeah, it's tedious and monotonous and like, come on, can we please move on? But no, that's what it was like to find the answers. Got these ready to go. Let's see if this is a whole separate day. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to wrap this video up. I'd say just say we're done. But the next thing we're going to be doing is all that stuff in this video, it's going to apply directly to the next video, which will be putting the heads in the studs and doing some stuff fun that actually looks like an engine instead of just a bunch of jibber jabber. Dang you, Taylor Ray. All right, well, I'm going to wrap this one up and go get this video uploaded. Sorry it's so long. I really couldn't cut much out, but that's the way it happens sometimes.